can you? Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome on the stage Jason Felstead, who is my very, very old friend, producer. We used to work together in a big global company called Caviar. And it's not an accident that I invited Jason here, because as a producer who I met, what was it, 10 years ago, he was an extraordinary person with an extraordinary eye on young talents, and in the time when we were working together at Caviar, he managed to help that company develop a lot of talents who are now big players in the advertising world globally. So I'm very proud that together, it was a year of 2015, when we both decided we would like to do things a bit differently and not be only part of the huge global companies. So Jason decided to start his own production company called Hamlet. So it's a company which is right now 7 years on the market. And before we go into the discussion or deeper conversation, I would ask Wanda, my lovely friend here, to play just a quick reel, so we can see from the quick shots what Hamlet has been done in recent maybe year or 2 years on the reel, right?
Yes.
Short advertising. 7 years in 30 seconds, or what was it?
No, that's more 3 years in 1 minute.
Okay, so, and of course, I would like to welcome back, for those who were not here in the morning, Jara Moravec, the Czech director, I'm proud to say Czech director, who's recently started to work with Jason in Hamlet. And we're gonna discuss a little bit through this later, but I would probably start, Jason, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it, because I know you're extremely busy, especially these days. So can you tell us about your beginning? Because Jara in the morning mentioned his starts of his career. So what leads you into being a producer, and where you come from? What's your background?
So you want my whole path?
Yes, it's a little therapy here. So
I think we quite linked, Jara and myself. So I'm 35 years old. I started in this business around 12 years ago, so quite young. And I studied fine arts and in industrial and product design in England. So maybe that's where our link came from. I'm also half English, half Belgian. After my studies, these two sections, I went back home looking for work and found a small position as a graphic designer in an advertising agency called Air, like the air. And from there I discovered that this whole advertising industry, in which I felt confidence but not in my place. And I was very fortunate to meet a producer from Belgium that decided to hire me as an assistant producer. So I started with him. He actually exploited me for a few years, but I learned a lot through him. And because working for this was quite a big production in Belgium, but their specialty was to hire directors from other production houses, and that's something I never really understood. Because they, sorry, I'm a bit stressed. I have to. I don't do this usually.
It's not easy to talk in front of people. I know, but
No,
it's alright.
So basically, I was hired by this person, and I evolved in that company, but understanding elements that I didn't enjoy in the production. So that was mainly working for the money. But through that production, I met Kato, which was one of the founders of a production house called Caviar, and I got a job at Caviar. I have to learn to breathe and everything. So I got hired there as the head producer for the international markets at Caviar, and suddenly some new doors completely opened to myself. I could discover that the company was actually like a family. A production company was like a family, and we basically had all directors exclusively, and I was handling these talents for markets where Caviar had no offices. So I was working a lot in Asia, in Eastern countries, Middle East, and so that I really discovered, a new environment, a new family environment, which I very much enjoyed. And I worked there for 3 years, developing a lot of films for a lot of countries around the globe.
Actually, but that's, sorry to interrupt you, but that's something very, there are two topics you actually mentioned which I would like to maybe a little bit discover around, because you are talking here about something much more deeper, which I believe is good to mention at the beginning, and that's the exclusivity versus being an independent director, being hired with any kind of company. Because I believe this is something very important to probably think of when you are at the beginning of your career, how you would like to lead yourself as a director, also as a producer, because there are many producers or many production companies around who are not really dedicating time or passion for the talents, but are mostly just doing executions, using talents as a product, let's say, to get the business. And there are also companies who really care for that exclusivity because they're trying to build something through the time together and going into the position when the director is really, let's say, ready to make the money jobs. It takes some time, and it takes a lot of patience, also passion, and also a lot of no's, I would say, if that's right, Jara. Yes.
And at Caviar, I discovered that suddenly, we could work with directors on an exclusive basis and build relationship, and that was for me a huge discovery because I love the human beings. I love the world. I'm into that sensibility of finding the right people and developing a friendship with the directors. So that's something I discovered within that company, and I worked there for 3 years, working, as I mentioned, working everywhere. And there was one thing I didn't enjoy there, it wasn't my company. So I was doing a lot of work, having a lot of ideas for a company which was not mine. And I decided to try it on my own because I built a whole network of agencies and production across the globe. And so that's how Hamlet started with my partner in 2015. Yeah.
And because you've done amazing stuff through that time. I've been watching you since the beginning of the company. I also understand and I know that being sent out of the Brussels office to the huge world, to the international markets, where it's a completely different culture, many often very different style of working on the procedure, and you've been always sent with the director. That's why I know it's very important, the relationship between and the trust between producer and the director, because you are only two traveling, let's say, to Shanghai, and you would have to manage everything.
Exactly.
To
yes.
not only bring some money, but
no.
also to
understand the local production, and that actually was a huge learn for me. To kind of act like a chameleon, but understanding every culture that I had to work with. This was of, now that I think of my career, this was of huge value for who I am and the business I've put together. I do understand the different cultures, that's why I'm here as well. That is also how I find directors from a lot of countries everywhere.
That's actually my other question where I would like to lead, because you started as a, I also decided to invite you not only because I know how you're working, but also trying to see that you come from very similar market if we come to the demography of a small country.
Yes. Belgium and the Republic Czech is very similar,
yes,
in terms of size.
So you started originally, Hamlet started as a Belgian
production
one-office company.
Yes, one office, yes. As Belgians, because we used to work in this global production, and I was traveling so much, I had an envy to go and reach for bigger work, international work. So we had, but I live in Belgium, so I started there. But straight away through that network I could go and get work from Japan and China, and that work started flying it. But the ambition was always to develop a company with offices in several countries to reach the best creative. So that's what we're building at this stage.
So how do you work there? Is it like that you have a local people working in the different countries? And can you maybe tell us what countries Hamlet is actually at this moment
so we started
located
in Belgium. There's about 7 people working there. And then we have an office in Paris. There's 3 people. We started last May. In China, we started right at the beginning of COVID. Actually, I was shooting in China until the 23rd of December, I think 2019, and then COVID hit 2 months later, but we had set up the whole office, everything was done, and so we decided to go with it. I've never seen my finished office in China so far, but it's working. They grew from 1 to 5 in 2 years. So it's amazing, but yes, it's not the perfect situation because we cannot bring our directors to China. But hopefully when the COVID stop and borders open, we can start again sending them there.
I also know you have a company in Berlin.
And Berlin, yes, we did open, but actually that was the second company, and frankly speaking, it's the company which is not working the way we want it to be. Germany, I think, is a much more conservative market. So we've been there 3 years, but it's not a company like us that I even forgot I had the company there. But it's a very nice office in Prenzlauer Berg, Berlin. So let's see where that goes.
Understanding so many different places, Shanghai, Paris, Brussels, Berlin. How do you look after directors or for directors? Like, what is that thing which makes you convinced that this is a young talent, I could be really able to succeed in so many different markets?
So there's several criteria I look for. First of all, I have a huge affinity with fine arts. So from the background, my studies, in general look for a certain aesthetic in the visuals. That is something which I guess it's personal to myself. I also look for all the ingredients that make a good film, which for me are so the aesthetics, the way directors cast, the sound, the music, and also one very important element is the technicality of what they do. I love to see technical films, like Jara spoke about this morning, this technique he used for his music video. So using your brain to solve a film problem is something that I very much look for in directors.
And is it, because I wonder, like, when and I also would like to ask Jara probably, like, if you are going on such an international level, is there some, let's say, originality in the commercials, because from my experience, many times when people do big international campaigns and things, they try to very much unify stuff so they can be sell for different markets, different cultures. Like, is that giving you some interesting opportunity, or it's more harder for you to be there as a director?
Well, I haven't shot that many international campaigns. I think you're better suited to answer that question.
I don't think there's a general way of shooting global campaigns. It's one thing I'm going to come back to. Actually, there's a certain there are directors with a global aesthetic. So their work speaks to a global audience. I think that is key to work in global markets. So we are not looking at local culture anymore. It's a much broader aspect of the vision of the director. In Jara's work, I see references from many different backgrounds, not specifically Czech aesthetics or elements. So this I think is very important for a director to work globally. If that answers your question.
We had a little chat about this earlier, that you said that you've been bidding or trying to pitch some project, and already there was so many restrictions. Yeah. You kind of find it in the brief that was almost like you have to make an Excel sheet to understand where you can go and where it's too dangerous.
There was an actual Excel sheet with all the items. So there is this, since the world is becoming so much more globalized, you have a common taste, and you have this common idea for the young successful audience. So I'm shooting right now a job which is, I think, for almost every single market, and the way they deal with the nationality and reality of where it's set, they just say it should feel Western, but that means Western with a lot of ethnicity mixed in. And I think that's the recipe a lot of these campaigns are looking for. So everybody kind of finds their own representation in that. So funnily enough, the previous campaign that I showed was for Chinese and Indian market, and the Chinese and Indian, they don't like each other. So they don't want either Chinese or Indian. It was actually the job we bid it together for Oppo, and we said, so how about Thailand? And funnily enough, this Chinese company, they are very much attracted by the European aesthetics. So they would like us to shoot in Bulgaria or Paris or Barcelona. And we would like to go somewhere else. So it's a bit of a back and forth, and you need to find something that feels kind of global, So it's not you're not portraying New York, you're not portraying London, you're just creating some sort of a general look that I think everybody aligns with. So yeah.
All right. I would probably jump back a little bit at the beginning, because as a producer myself, I know that finding somebody who is young means not discovered. For me, young, it's not so much about the age.
No.
It's more about the work and probably the quality, and not being too discovered. It's always a big dedication also from the producer, because it's not so easy to help sell and create a successful director when nobody knows him, and most of the time when he doesn't shot much we're talking here about advertising, not much advertising work, probably just music videos or short films. And I know you very long time, and I know a lot of young directors who started their careers with you. That's why I find you quite, let's say, brave and courageous, because you have to believe in it. You also have to invest money in it. Mm-hmm. And I would like us maybe to go, before we go more deeper into how you two met, what makes that connection, and what you guys did together. I would like to maybe see a little bit of work of different directors, how they how that first commercials actually you've been producing with them look like, and if you can tell us a little bit more about them or about that connections or relationships you're having, because I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah. So I brought in a few films we did since we started Hamlet, and for me the first and foremost important element of my job is, and it's a bit of a boring word, but it's called the passion. It's very important to want to do good work without thinking of what will come behind. So everything I've been doing so far has been for the purpose of showing good work. We're already doing advertising, which is not really the most. We're not doctors, so at least if we make good commercial, I can show it and be proud of the work I do. So, for example, so one of my first directors was called Ben Strabel. Became a big friend of mine. Again, it comes also, and I'm changing subjects, but I think how to build a director comes from two elements. There's the director's proactivity and the work he's doing on by himself. That is the key parts of becoming, of growing as a director. You need to be proactive. You need to do your own projects. You need to be seen that way. You need to find solutions. You need to surround yourself with your friends to make something, and keep doing that until you get noticed. Because we noticed good work at the initial stage, and once we see that good work, we enter into a relationship with a director, and there we decide to push in by investing money or contacting our friends and agencies to give us chances. And so, for example, with Ben, 6 years ago, I got this very interesting project, and it was a breakthrough for Hamlet. I think it was for Nike. Very low budget. We had to make 4 films, 4 or 3 films, I don't remember, but we had to shoot in Russia, in Prague, in Turkey, and in Germany. I think, yes, there was a 4th one in Germany. And so there it was early stage of Hamlet. I didn't have a lot of money neither, so what do? Do we go into something to build the director and the company with the risk that goes with it? We decided to do so, and it worked out really well, and we could, market the director with that commercial, but it also put Hamlet into a new level of competitiveness. And so I want to show you maybe these 2 films we did with Ben for Nike.
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
I remember. I was working with you in Prague.
We did one together here. So that's the first one, and then there's a second one.
Remember.
My taste has changed since then.
I know, it's a really old piece,
Yeah.
I can see it, but I think it was a very, very challenging job, not only budget-wise for you, because I know it was a very small budget.
Yeah.
You said, like, what was it?
I don't really, between 80 and 100, but we had to travel, everyone, the agency, the client, so we didn't make no money in there, and that's what I mean too from a production house. You know, the investment is crucial to develop your talents, but yourself among that talent.
Yeah.
And that is how you have to think as a producer. It is to think of the development of your company, but also the directors that go with it. Because we live because of our directors, but our directors get the work because of us.
Yeah. But I think this particular project was very challenging also for the director itself, because the people who are the main characters are not actors.
No.
Those are influencers. Nike found it.
Yeah.
Because that was that whole time when it started to be very popular to use
It was the beginning of influencers.
And also you've been giving only like how many shooting days for the...
We had 1 day per film.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was tricky, and I remember the director being on the knees, stressed out, and myself behind him, you know, having to help him to finish the shoots, and you know, I was there with him. Otherwise, he would have scrambled, because the stress that I think a director imposes on himself, because we both knew the impact these films would make back in the days. So a lot of stress was there. My role was to tell him that his work was good as well, you know, to reassure him. And since then, with Ben, we've done, I think I brought another film I made for Samsonite, a global campaign with him. I don't know if I put it in
No,
the
we
list.
don't have this film here with us.
I'm sorry, you can check it out, it's a big Samsonite. But since then, Ben evolved into a very interesting talent, with more confidence, and now he's signed to Biscuit and Hamlet and Diplomat in France, for example. So yeah, that is, you know, seeing the evolution of a talent is also beautiful.
Yeah, but I can see that it's also good to point out that when you are at the beginning of the career, the chances you are given are always a very small budget,
Yes.
very few time, and high expectations.
Yeah.
So it's always very challenging at the beginning. So it's good to have good partners around you who can help you and support, because to get a very comfortable budget, we can also see that once we receiving this, or once this is happening, there is a lot of control and all the fear and the creativity or a bit of freedom. It's
usually less money allows you to be a little bit more creative. More money brings more pressure, because it's much more money, and the investment for a client on a global scale, they pay tons for the media buys and for the production. So yes, it's a lot of stress, but for me 100K or 1 million is, frankly speaking, the same in terms of the way we work.
Good to know, Jaro.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, Ian Paul Jewell.
Ian was one of our, also a good discovery of Hamlet. He's not with us anymore, but we're very good friends, because he works a lot in America, and so he developed his career in Europe, and then that's usually something, guys, for the young directors, Jara, you shouldn't do that, but they build the wheel in Europe and then go and get the money in America. So Ian, you know, and that's also through the way I find talents is through different, you know, through my travels, through working with people from the film industry, DPs, art directors, editors, other directors like Jara asking you, do you know another good director? So Ian, that's how we found him. I was shooting in Morocco and I met Marco Gentile, which is also one of our directors from Italy, with a DP called Mauro Chiarello, which now is a good friend, and we shot many times at the beginning. And Mauro one day sent me this job from Ian, which was an out for Hornbach in Germany. I saw the offline. I instantly took my phone, called Ian, and took the train to London to meet with Ian. We had coffee, and I said, Ian, let's try something out, and he accepted the offer. He wasn't that known. I knew his music videos back then. And again, through my network of production, I got a pitch from Japan for Lexus. And because they trusted the production, we got that film for a car, and Ian never shot any cars, and he didn't have a driving license neither. So
this is extraordinary, I have to say.
that is very, and that's where I think the role of the production is so important. It's to try and think outside of the box with your talents. Give the opportunity for a young talent to jump onto a film, you know, which is bigger. And we won it because they trusted Hamlet.
Because that's very extraordinary. Because it's like, of course, like production. I think as a producers, if we are with creative producers, not only execution or service people, we tend to think out of the box, or we would love to do that. But the game, it's connected through the agency and the client. And being an expert of a Skoda car commercial here, shot many of them, it's very, very hard to sell a director to the script which has a car.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy or something without the car.
Yeah.
It's really an extraordinary piece. So
it's
I really...
bit of luck, I think, bit of luck, a bit of trust. And also he had this hornback, which was fantastic. It's a beautiful piece of work. And that was a convincing part also for the creative team. And that is also important, is that you need to surround yourself with creative from agencies that want to push the boundaries a little bit and take risks. You know, why would you... Shooting a car is basically a Russian arm with a good DP, and that's it. And you shoot it on streets. You know, there's nothing extraordinary in doing that.
But because it's their product, they think it's
I
very
know, but
extraordinary.
there are some creative which want to twist, you know, the car concept of an idea. Like I remember we had this one shot going through the window that is one take, and we were driving. I think they were driving at 100 kilometers per hour with the Russian arm that went inside of the car, you know. And then we needed to do a match cut. So it was at the beginning of the transition. There was this new transition thing that we see a bit too much nowadays.
Can we watch the film?
Yeah, you can see it.
Kim, Paul, Jules, Lexus.
So that was also 5 years ago, something like that.
That was one of the first commercials.
The first commercial we did. That's the first one we did together, and then after that, and because we are here for young directors.
You had very Italian sounding music.
It is, yeah.
It was Japanese. Wasn't it?
It's a Japanese company.
Yeah, but was it the Japanese market?
A Japanese market. Yeah.
Looks very Italian, no?
Yeah. So yeah, and through that, then Ian, you know, they had the hornback, this one, then he got signed to Reset in America, but that was, you know, we still had a relationship, and from there, you know, I was starting to get a lot of work from China, and we did this huge campaign for Nike, which was the most viewed Nike campaign, but it's in China. So
A lot of people
so a
have
lot
it.
of people watched it.
Can we watch that film?
We can watch it. I brought it here for you guys to see. But it's just interesting to see the evolution of where we take a director and from where they go. And now his work is to a much bigger
Signed to
scale.
one of the
It's
best
top
company.
5 directors for me in commercial work in the world.
Wait, then how? In the time, how long that take, Ian?
So Ian's very fast growing director. We signed him, he stayed with us for 2.5 years, I think. I'd say in 4 years' time. He went from that to what he does now, which is incredible. Also a very hard-working person. So yeah.
Also knowing him, he's very much, because we want to also invite him this year, but he's busy now in Mexico.
Yeah.
But as knowing him, he always worked on his project, shot a lot of short films.
Yeah.
Always
Okay.
going after every producer, please, put the money in my films.
It's persistence, yeah. As a young director, that is what you need to do. It's of course you need to be good, and I'm sorry, some people, you know, they just don't have it. And if you see it's not working for 6, 7, 8 years, I think it's better you change job. But for others, you know, the proactivity and making your work of exceptional qualities is very important to constantly do that, and even in between the growth. So you can become a top director and still need to do these personal projects because they are the ones that I view, they are the ones that keep you with a creative mindset. Music videos, short films, personal projects, they keep your brain sane from the advertising business, which can draw you into the financial side of it, which sometimes can kill the creativity on a long-term basis. And I see a lot of directors getting lost into that. So they go to very high success, and suddenly they start seeing the money, and then they just pitch to make that money, and then they accept any work, and then you don't see nothing good for a year. And you know, being a director is like it's how do you maintain this creative quality throughout the years. That is the hardest part of being a director, and you constantly need to think in that sense to maintain your that level of directing to stay there, because you go to the top and you go down very quickly, and then it's done, you know. And for Ian has understood that. He exploited that sexiness as hell, you know. And that is also something that I admire him of doing in his career.
Okay, so let's watch
So yeah,
the
that's
Nike.
Nike.
Ich will als SRPG spielen, du spielst immer Schlange.
New rules, boss. Euroclubs can only sign 3 Chinese players.
And now, time for England to see their first draw.
China.
budget the microphone can.
Takže nahoře na to se neslyší. Awards. That's an award.
Awards.
Award. I don't know how you spell it in English. Award. Something very important at the beginning of.
Okay.
Yeah. Something very important at the beginning of a young talent.
An award debate, but because you guys are all young talents, it's you know for us the biggest pride is to see our talents grow into successful filmmakers, and I'm seeing that with a few of our talents, and it's super hard to find them, but you know when you find these people. You have to work with them and give them the opportunities and help them in their personal projects and fight for them to jump onto the best creative. But it's also for them, and they are also accepting to go through this difficult process of working on films without making money. It's a tough. I think the beginning of becoming a filmmaker is really complicated. Because you make no money, and you have to go through that process for a little while. But some of the most talents go through that, and for example, and for me that was the most beautiful award I got. We won with a young director called Angelo Sorizzara, Italian director, best new director at the Shots Awards in London last November. And that for me, I don't care about a gold in Cannes or what a Cyclope, but that kind of award is a huge impact for me to realize how important these people are in my life, and the work also that I've put in to developing them. And so that award was given to Angelo last November for a film we made for Belgium radio station for the opening of festivals after COVID. So also the concept was quite strong. You need a strong concept to make a good film, and that's also the basis. But Angelo took it to another level, and yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, let's have a look and we talk a little bit about that. Angelo.
Dit had nooit mogen gebeuren. En morgen is dit ook nooit gebeurd. Ik heb me laten meesleuren door muziek. En nu sta ik hier te sleuren met Jannes. Of vast Jonas. Maakt niet uit. Ik had het gewoon even nodig. En hij ook precies. Joris, dat was het. Denk ik. Shit, waar heb ik deze gemist? Mr. Stranger.
1,5 jaar geen concerten. En nu ben ik hier alles aan het missen. Come on. Concentreer je. Mij lukt dat wel. Denk gewoon dat je hier alleen staat. Wat doet hij nu? Is dat zijn naam dat ik voel? Ja, alles dicht. Natuurlijk. Want zelfs deze heb ik gemist. Die gast die naar het festival komt, niet voor de muziek, maar een hele dag tegen iedereen te lullen. En nu ook tegen mij. Ik versta hem amper, maar ik versta hem helemaal. Op de een of andere manier raakt zijn gezicht bij. Letterlijk. 7 is normaal verder. En ik heb hem gemist, man. Tot op een of andere festivalfeestje.
I tell you, the kissing was painful. About 4 hours of kissing these two actors.
That's good.
For the
I would be happy to act in such a commercial.
That is also a project, we got, there was no money in there, it's an investment, it's also a director living in London, but I believed in him and I paid for his ticket to come over, I invested into the film, there are projects, you know, for me there are projects also to develop young directors, is to also invest with them and help them to grow into the commercial industry. And I think Angelo, he just signed a biscuit also in England, so good for him. And I think in the next year he's gonna grow into someone extremely successful. Yeah.
So Shots Best Director of the Year.
Yeah,
it's a
Angelo.
very
It's
important
a great
award for the director,
Yeah.
because then he's completely in the view of everybody.
That is the thing too. Production look for that. You know, we look for awards, for Vimeo staff pick, for work put on directors' library, and the different networks and platforms that are in, like Shots and David's review. So all these the work, once it starts to circulate in these platforms, it starts to be visualized by productions and producers, and then it's for us to just to pick or to be there at the right time, to start a discussion and get together and start a new adventure together. And that's how I met Jara.
That's what I wanted to say, that it's actually when I started, I feel like a grandmother of advertising, we were traveling with the Umatic tapes over to London to show. That's how Daniel Bergman actually started the work of Ivan Zacharias, traveling with his Umatic tapes and presenting on these big machines in the agencies his work. And of course that time everything which comes from Eastern market was sexy, because it was kind of weird, you know, dark, original, because the Iron Curtain kind of closed that that view here. But today I think things change a lot. Before also you had to live somewhere to be able to succeed on the market. I remember Ivan moved to London, Martin Krejci, who is another example from Czech Republic, they all had to go and stay there and work for the companies.
Now.
It's completely different now. It's because of the internet, you think?
100%. You want to say something?
Yeah, please say something.
I also think that's even a more recent thing. I think it's also due to COVID, actually, funnily enough.
That has enhanced the remotes.
The familiarity of everybody being connected over Zoom, you know, that's becoming such a norm today that, you know, sometimes I am in the same city with an agency,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, okay, shall we meet for the BPM in person? And they want to do it remotely, even though we're in the same city. So I think that breaks the boundaries and makes it even easier for us to, you know, go and pitch on a foreign market. So yeah.
So maybe can we talk a little bit like how you two met? Because I believe what is great today, like in the back in the days when, for example, I was young and started the company, directors have it really difficult. The connection between the producer and director was more needed. There was only the film, we can all shoot. It wasn't that easy for a director to just rent a 35mm camera and buy all the negative stock and develop it. Everything was expensive. So their need for being connected with the producer was way longer. Also, there were not so many references out there. It was very hard. Shots as a magazine started to publish every month a VHS tape. You have to pay a lot of money to get every month this tape to bring people into the office, and we were playing and doing copies to give to directors to watch something. We had no moments of activities like this to sit down, talk, you know. So we were lucky to have people coming for servicing to Prague. So every time I remember having Tractor shooting a Prodigy music video in the 90s, I brought Jakub Kohag and all the young guys to come over, let's talk to the directors, let's find out. It was a bit of mission. Today, I think there is a lot of possibilities, and I really enjoy when you, Jara, talked about that it can be also sometimes overwhelming, that too many possibilities. you can see everything. Everybody copies. Everybody, you know.
I will interrupt you on that. That for me is the problem with the internet. Is that, and I think for young directors too, it's the culture you build is very important. To go to the museums, discover new artists, new music, things that are just not seen on shots or on these platforms that you go and visit constantly, because the world starts to become a copycat place, and that is what, you know, that is something. For example, when I looked at Jara's work, and I found his work with Bromance, so I didn't know that I watched.
It's a short film. It's not a commercial, right?
It's a short film, yeah. But in there you sense, and when he explained earlier his process, you sense that he's interested in finding elements in environments where you need to go and discover them, but you discover them by going to see them with your own eyes and not standing at home watching the internet all day. That I think is very important as a young talent, is to develop your own vision and your own culture with what is accessible to us outside of the internet.
How did you? Who find who?
So of course I reached out now. Yeah, I reached out to Jara. She said hi. I said hi. I said I like your work. He said I like Hamlet.
Like being a gay, no? Like hi.
I said let's work together. He said yeah, let's try it.
It didn't take too long.
No, and then I don't remember, we pitched I think one thing, lost it, but quickly it went quickly into pitching.
Do you?
And
That's what I'm curious. Do you met personally before you
No.
even know?
No,
Internet.
not Jara.
Over internet.
We actually met on this music video we shot in Kiev last
For the
summer.
first time.
For the first time.
Personally.
Yeah. That's how we met. Awkward.
Awkward. I really find it awkward.
That was a bit
I'm very old school,
because
so
we could, for example, it could have gone the wrong way as well. You know, our personality could not match. We're still getting to know each other. It's not like he's been with us less than a year. We already did 2 jobs together. We lost a few, but I see there's something working with Jara. I sense traction from our agencies. So I think there's a bright future for him being in England as well. You know, there's traction for him in England. I think America will come, and for us in our markets too. There's a lot of work coming, and they start to ask for Jara. But yeah, we met in Kiev.
okay. So Kiev.
Kiev.
Stroma music video, because this morning Jara was. For those who were not here in the morning, was mentioning the passion work on the music videos, and also how different this could be when it comes to the fact that actually in UK and also most in the parts of Western Europe, music video is basically the same business like advertising.
It is. Yes. But even for this one, there's the background of the label is such a big artist. I don't know if you know him here in Prague.
He's not as big here.
No, but he's huge. He's huge in France, in Holland, in Germany, in Belgium, even in America. He goes to Madison Square Garden and fills it up. I don't know how, but that was the process there. They are very artistical mindsets. They have a very artistical mindset, but there's still a huge business impact and strategy behind everything they do. And I think, you know, I did fight a lot with them to try and fight for Jara's vision. But yeah, there was arguments as well with these people.
So what's the process? Like you met Jara, you saw his work, and
then so when I find a director, usually I like to develop one director after the other one. So see it work, and then they start working, and then I like to look for someone new to develop. That's what I do because I love directors. So we went through that. I got this call from Luc, which is Stromae's brother. I know him. He's a friend of mine. And he told me, Jason, we're launching a brand new album, and Stromae was out for 5 years. So he's been extremely missed as a musician, especially in France and in Belgium. And he said, I'm launching a new pitch, like in commercials. here's the brief, and I presented Jara. That's it. I always present one director when I get a script.
Even for commercials?
Even for commercials.
Fantastic.
Sometimes they get out, but I try and believe into one talent. That is what I do. That we are also creative. We also like to read the script and think, okay, who could shape this the best way possible. So that is something we try and do as a production. Very important for us. So we got the briefing, and I presented Jara, and he did a call. I wasn't on that call because I was on a holiday, so my partner Ruben did it. And Luke called just after the call saying, I'm stopping the whole pitch. I want to work with Jara. That's it.
Because the funny thing is, they, unlike with a lot of other videos, they had a very specific idea for the pitch. And I remember him talking for half an hour, 40 minutes. It was a really long pitch. He was explaining very thoroughly all the details. And then I took over and then I said, okay, hey, look, this is how I see it. And I went through the whole thing again with a lot of my own ideas. It was a really funny moment at the end. He just clapped his hands and he said, okay, I'm done. It's you, you know, and you need to write this treatment, but we're doing it with you. And I was like, okay, you know, and then the next thing was I wrote a treatment next week, and it was very straightforward. So it was based on that one phone call, you know, and just kind of aligning. At that point, we were very aligned. We were looking at the exact same things. Yeah.
Is it when you do such a music video, because it also have some budget? I know it was around, like you say, 120.
140,000 euro, which is a big budget.
That's like a Czech
a very big budget.
Do you have to go through the same process of approving stuff like we do in advertising?
To a certain extent, I'd say yes. We had a BPM, we had a BPM. You present your main protagonist, you present your locations. We had a lot of conversations about the locations and the art within the screens. So yes, I'd say in this particular case, and Mozart, the creative label behind Stromae, they effectively served as an agency. You know, they had Luc is a great creative director. You know, he's done this with other directors, with other shoots. So he was in his element. So it was very similar to what you find on a commercial.
And one more question for me is like, when you, as a Czech director, and you spoke about this area, how much important for you is to have close creative people next to you. If you are going and traveling to the international projects, are you surrounded by the Czech people?
I always take Philip whenever I can. Like
Philip Marek, the DOP.
He, apart from being one of the best filmmakers globally, I'd say he's like definitely in the European league. He's pushing his way to be in the top tier. He's getting booked for by everybody. He also happens to be a really close friend of mine. And unlike with shooting with a lot of different DPs, where you kind of need to get to know each other, I am building a deeper relationship with him. I can reference to the previous work we've done. We have similar styles, so it's becoming very economical the way we work. You know, we don't have to explain too much to each other. So I'm shooting a job with him in 3 weeks, you know, and unlike with somebody else, it's, you know, we meet just sporadically. He's doing a different thing, I'm doing a different thing with somebody else, and the thing becomes so much smoother. So I insist on working with him as much as I can. Then when it comes for everybody else, it's becoming so much more, you know, it's expensive, of course. You know, bringing your own PD, for example, is you need to have a budget for that, and that doesn't happen too often.
And that was something I didn't mention in the morning, but also I was wondering, editor, very important character in the process of making commercial. In the US, for example, the directors are actually finishing their part in filming on the set, and that's it. They are not allowed to go to editing room until they really are big directors who say, this is my rules, this is what I want to do, because in America agencies are overtaking all the footage from the director and doing the jobs themselves. So we're not there yet. You're not in America yet, but how does it work if it comes to editing, especially on the jobs when you're working with Jason?
Right.
Are you working with a Czech editor, or you have somebody international with you?
So until recently, I've actually did all the editing myself. I could not find anybody. Whenever I worked with an editor, I was like, just give it to me. You know, I need to do it myself. This is not my thing. And then recently, I discovered Katarina. She's the Slovakian young artist, and so for the charity job with Hamlet, due to the budget, I did the edit for that one. But for the Stromae video, we had Katarina, who's finally I find somebody, you know, and it takes time to find the right person, but I think she's the one for me at the moment.
Maybe can we just watch a little piece from the Stromae?
Sure.
Maybe it's good to also know what is the song about. We didn't talk about that.
So the song is about workers from the darkness, working class working in the background, the cooks, the whores,
À ceux qui n'en ont
the
pas,
builders.
à ceux qui n'en ont pas. Rosa, Rosa, quand on fout le bordel, tu nettoies. Et toi, Albert, quand on trinque, tu ramasses les verres. Céline, Bataire, toi tu te prends des vestes au vestiaire. Arlette, arrête, toi la fête, tu la passes aux toilettes. Et si on célébrait ceux qui ne célèbrent pas, pour une fois, j'aimerais lever mon verre à ceux qui n'en ont pas, à ceux qui n'en ont pas. Quoi les bonnes manières? Pourquoi je fais semblant? De toute façon, on est payé pour le faire. Tu te prends pour ma mère? Dans une heure, je reviens. Que ce soit propre, qu'on puisse y manger par terre. 3 heures que j'attends. Franchement, il est fabrique ou quoi? Heureusement que c'est que de verre. Rappelle-moi ton responsable. Et fais vite, elle pourrait se finir comme ça. Ta carrière. Oui, célébrons ceux qui ne célèbrent pas. Encore une fois, j'aimerais lever mon verre à ceux qui n'en ont pas. À ceux qui n'en ont pas. Mieux vaut ne pas s'y frotter, frotter. Si tu ne me connais pas, brosser, brosser. Tu pourras toujours te brosser, brosser. Si tu ne me respectes pas, oui, célébrons ceux qui ne célèbrent pas. Encore une fois, j'aimerais lever mon verre à ceux qui n'en ont pas, à ceux qui n'en ont pas. Pilote d'avion ou infirmière, chauffeur de camion, hôtesse de l'air, boulanger ou marin pêcheur, un verre aux champions des pires horaires, aux jeunes parents bercés par les pleurs, aux insomniaques de profession, et tous ceux qui souffrent de peine de cœur, qui n'ont pas le cœur aux célébrations.
Great, I love it. I wonder the black characters. They look very Belgian. Do you find them in Kiev?
Yes, two of them in Kiev, one of them in Amsterdam.
Yeah, they all spoke French. So they
Yeah, there's a huge, well not huge, but they do college exchange between Ukraine and Africa, so a lot of African people go and study in Kiev, which unfortunately we've seen a bit of racism going on with these people.
Wow. Now we see different things.
Yeah.
That's another subject
Yeah, that's
I
another subject.
wouldn't go into right now. Okay, how many shooting days you guys have for such a music video?
It was 3.
Was enough?
It was okay. It was 3 long shooting days. We scheduled like even longer
We
hours.
wanted one more scene, we had to cut it
Yeah,
out.
they wanted farm, and we were looking at like starting the first day with like 20-hour day shoots. Jason said no, which I think was quite wise at that point. It would just ruin everything. And it was 3 days, 1 day in restaurant, 1 day in the office, 1 day on the boat.
Yeah, I said basically if you want to start on 20-hour days on the first day like that, you're going to kill everyone, and then the whole project will collapse because you cannot go into a shooting these kind of stupid hours. So I think Jara with the location we had did a great job. It has nearly 40 million views on YouTube. I'm super proud of this first project we did together. He pulled it off greatly, and yeah, I hope many more new personal and music video together.
And I also hearing that you were there.
Yeah.
That's for me very exceptional, because I know you are a huge company now. You're running many markets. You've been after execution work for many directors, many jobs. And when it comes to bringing new talent, you go and you dedicate all your time to shoot with him a music video in Ukraine. I think it's fantastic.
I try as much as for example, the charity projects we did he was there a few months back in Brussels. I couldn't go on the shoots, but it was a very straightforward project, and Robin, one of our producers, put it together, and with Jara, I trusted him to do it the way he did. And it's not yet out, but I also wanted to show you that kind of film, because it's another example like Angelo. I think we had 30,000 euro, which is not for 2 films, you shot 2 days. So it's 15,000 euro, like with a full crew, again asking, and that is something, once the help of a production is something we can do, is because we do bigger commercials, where we pay people. When I have personal projects, I'm very strict in asking the crews, the posts, the rental companies to help us to build the work, because the gain is huge for every member of the community. If the director grows, we grow. The post grows, everyone grows, and everyone make more
It's
work.
part of the
it's a very
it's
natural
part of the
and
business.
organic process.
Can I ask you, because this is a real advertising job. Of course,
Yeah.
it's a charity client, so it's also an opportunity for, usually also here, opportunity for a young talent
Charity,
to start. How was this project lining up at the beginning? Is the agency approach you with a script, or you approach the agency with a young talent?
No, they got a script to us, and we proposed Jara.
I think we pitched it as well, right? I think it was an actual
pitch. This one.
Yeah, we pitched this.
So you want?
They even pitch us on smaller jobs sometimes.
It was a pitch, I think, the usual triple bit pitch.
And the Belgian agencies, I would say.
Can I just say one thing? Remember, it might be a lesson for somebody. I was sitting on the lunch while we were shooting, and I was sitting with the agency, and I was just getting to know them, and they said, well, we saw your film Bromance, and we really like that. The script is somewhat similar, so we wanted you to do that. We weren't so sure. Then we had another director pitching, and he actually used your work as a reference in their treatment. And that was the deciding moment. They said, okay, well, if the other director is referencing this guy, then we need to go with that guy. So that it shows again, personal work leads to other work eventually,
I'm gonna agree with you on that. We look for creative work, and that comes from music videos, short film, personal projects. It is Bromance, I think, was for Jara. breaking the barrier with that film, because it's assembled a lot of elements that we look for in the commercial industry. It's a 20-minute format, I think, and all the elements there, if you put them in 60 seconds, you know, you take the images, it works visually, it's quite powerful. So yeah, that's the great importance into making personal projects.
Okay, so let's watch this confidential film.
It's for the
which is not
suicidal prevention in Belgium, because there's a lot of suicide cases because of the COVID. So very actual subjects. Yeah, Jara, this is not out yet, so it's an avant-première here.
Die matrassen waren top.
I don't like the aftershoots. It's my personal thing. Yeah, in
one.
general, I'm not a fan
The
of it.
overexposure. With Petra, we like stuff, we don't like stuff. You know, it's, yeah, but I thought it was an interesting, again, to show the process of a young director evolving, and these are the first jobs we're doing together. And it will aim, and I see that now with Jara, he's shooting like bigger commercials, and the aim is to start like this and then grow into the bigger campaigns, but still with a priority for creativity. That is, whatever the money. If there's an amazing script, we have to do it. We have to bid on it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I think maybe it's time to also turn into our little audience, because I know it's exhausting to listen to people for a very long time, but they've been already listening for like more than 60 minutes. If there is any questions coming out there for us, Julia, of course.
Hey, do you ever reject scripts? Because I know for a lot of young production companies that are just starting out, they're always like, oh, you know, we have to jump on everything, even though we don't really like it. What is your approach?
Well, I'll be honest with you, the first film we did was a shit potato film to make money. So at the beginning, no, because we had to build a company, start to bring in cash flow. But now, yes, we refuse actually quite a lot. It's something that we can allow ourselves to do, because we build a company which is getting us enough scripts to be selective. So yeah, when we started, no. Now, yes. If that answers your question.
Anybody else?
I actually have almost the same question for both of you guys, and if I may be so daring, I would love for Jara to answer first, and I would love you guys to ask you for three things. What is the most important things for young talents and directors to do to emerge from the grayness, let's say, and just to be seen, like the three most important things, and yeah, that's it. Thanks.
I'm not sure I can name all three. It's that would be a longer list. I think it boils down to one, and that's finding your own voice, you know, and that encapsulates all of these things we were talking about. And so through this searching for what is truly yours and the vision, your own very specific perspective, then you can project onto things. So then you're tasked with processing, working on a brief, and I think Jason might mention that, you know, he's working with a lot of different directors, but every single director needs to have his own perspective. So, and it's almost like a strong flavor that comes with each person, you know. And then you can go and say, okay, I think this script requires these skills, this sensibility. Who's the right person who sees the world the right way? And then you go and pick that person. Because there's, of course, you know, there's so many people doing this. So you want to cut through the noise with something that's very specific, and that's the hard part, because it's, you know, a lot of these things have been done through experimentation and research and trying things out and failing. You know, you nurture your own voice as a creator to learn this, you know, to be able to say something somewhat unique. You know, I spoke about creativity, originality earlier. I think it's a specific thing, but yeah, you need to grow your own voice.
So just, let's say, don't be the jack of all trades, and
say again.
Don't be the jack of all trades.
Don't be what?
Jack of all trades, like.
No, I don't think you should be a jack of all trades. Yeah. It's good for a director maybe to try out a couple of things, but also identify what are your strengths, what kind of things you want to be doing. Focus on that. I don't think, you know, there's way too many people to be able to be good at everything. Yeah.
I think you answered your questions. What do you want my answer?
Well, actually, the idea was that maybe you guys say something different, but if you
fully join what Jara just said, and I'm coming back to. I think but as a young director, and even seeing as a young human being, I think you're shaping a lot of things in your life, because if you are 18, you don't really have that maturity that you have throughout the years where you grow. But I think that is why experimenting at a young age in different levels, with nurturing the culture that you can build, to allow yourself into having a personality that will work for yourself as a human being is important. But it's hard at 18 years old or 20 years old to say that's my personality. It's something that grows in time, so yeah, but I'm gonna come back, it's proactivity, doing things, not looking at the internet constantly, making relationships is very important. Your network is very important, because these people, you know, once they enter your circle, they can help you into developing what you have in mind, and hopefully it works out, and then you can give it back, or you can grow together in the different section of what you're doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And apply to Young Academy, of course. It's a project which look after talents and send them all over them. So it's definitely one of those. No, I think it's. I can really see the difference today with talents and the whole way how they for themselves, how they're being developed. And what I would like to probably ask is that did you, Jara, actually shot any commercial in the Czech Republic? So you have experience here as well.
Yeah, I shot quite a few. Well, I'm rep by Distro, so we shot a couple of jobs, especially 2020. We did a few because I could not shoot anything anywhere else. I think I'm not that good at shooting Czech stuff for some strange reason. I just don't really fit in the mentality, and I think I'm seen as being a little too foreign and exotic, maybe to a certain extent, even though it's doesn't make
to my word.
even though it doesn't make really any sense. But yeah, I did. I've shot a few.
I'm reading that conversation because I wonder, as a producer and also as a little bit of too extra exotic, extraordinary woman here, how do you see the difference, or do you see the difference between the way how the Czech producers so far you met working with you as a talent and how Jason, for example, is working? Is there a difference? Is that something you can see?
Of course. You know, once it comes down to the background, you know, and Jason said it himself. If you have studied art, if you surround yourself, if that's how you got to the film through all these different things, then that also shapes the way you build a company. So you start surrounding yourself with the directors that have this inclination, you know, the people who are looking also for something else. If you have a producer who does not have that background, of course he's not going to have that, that perspective. And then you might end up with somebody who's trying to catch up a little bit in that sense, or maybe he's focused on something else. You know, it could be you know, maybe some producers might be more focused on craft, for example, or human relationships. They might, you know, that also can be a recipe to how to run a company, but I just don't find it as exciting.
Yes, I'm asking for it because I really believe that I actually come across that idea yesterday when we talked with Jason over the dinner, that producers has the chance to have more directors, more variability, diversity in the different talents, to maybe fill the needs of the market, to make money, to do good films, you know, working with easy people, working maybe with more difficult people, because there's a lot of diversity in the characters. But director, it's just one, and his work, it's what speaks for him. So I said, like, what he has in his career. So I believe at this moment it's an opportunity of more markets, which can give you different possibilities, and you are not only stuck into Czech Republic, for example, because you're from here, but it's very important if you wanna achieve good work, that you have to look after what you're doing. And I know, especially from you, even at the beginning, when people are hungry, you've been saying lots of no, which is something I would like to also speak here about, because in general, saying no, it's never easy. So
of course, yeah. Well, whenever I want to say no, you know, I see myself stuck with a project that I don't like, and you know, doing the director work means being occupied. Your mind is occupied by a project for a couple of months, and you will need to make that decision if that's something that you want to have on your agenda. And of course, sometimes you want to take a job for money reasons. You can do that. I personally don't really do that myself. So I always look for what else is there, what interests me. If is that thing gonna keep me entertained throughout, and if I say no, I'm also keeping myself available, you know, for all these other things that might come by. And it happened to me that I said yes to something, and I was like stuck with a job that I did not like, and then something else popped up, and I was like, oh shit, you know, it's gone. I can't redo it. So.
Advertising is not going to stop, and good work is constantly flowing and coming, and because I know a lot of directors who says no to staff, and then because they think they're missing out on an opportunity. I also think at an early stage it's important to find you have to say no and believe in what you want to do, but it's also important that you shoot staff to learn how the industry functions. It's important that you go on a set and you go through the process of a PPM and discussing with clients and the psychology in between that, even if you're shooting some toothpaste, whatever. I'm just, the process of shooting is also interesting to grow in the industry. But Jara tends to say no sometimes, and then I'm there, but I really think that can be a good script, and then that is also sometimes the director doesn't see. It's not like we did the job, but sometimes myself, when I look at an idea and I visualize it a certain way, I will push for it. And sometimes I can convince the directors to do it, and that can result in some very good work as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think you are great because approaching the pitch with only one person, going to that place knowing that you might lose and you won't make any money, I think it's a big bravery in these days. And I believe saying no to scripts which doesn't make you feel it's your film. It's also not easy because I know a lot of people feel fear. They are afraid they're gonna be rejected. If they're not gonna shoot, they're not gonna get the work, you know. So it's not an easy to make the choices. But I think every choice you make kind of form the path you're doing and you're growing, and that's probably the message I will leave here with the audience.
Your path is built on your decisions, for sure. If you feel deep down it's not for you, don't do it. If you know, I do a lot of crappy work too, because we have a business, and we have people and employees and offices, and we have to pay for all of that stuff. So, and also still too much advertising is really bad, but we do some of it because we have to pay the bills. But we did arrive to a stage now with Hamlet where we don't really receive really bad advertising. So that is also a good thing, and that's what we fought for. It's to develop a company with a certain identity where agencies actually, they know that they're not going to send us a cheap supermarket or shampoo. So we don't really see these scripts. So Jara says no to a decent script, you know. But yeah.
I might just add one more thing. You know, I also, whenever I see a script, I always try to weigh two different things, so I can keep myself busy. I can be busy with this shoot, and what do I gain at the end? Is that I always ask myself, is that going to advance my career anyway? Is that really going to go on my reel? Jason's right that you want to gain experience and be shooting, because that, you know, you can theorize all the time and write all the treatments, but nothing really beats, you know, the practice being on the set. That's true too. But then on the other hand, you know, I think it's and that happened to me. You know, if you look at the success of the personal work that I've done, I can also think, okay, am I better off shooting this ad and earning some money and, you know, making a mark somewhere, or am I better going away for a week, locking myself in a hut in the woods, and actually getting to write advance on my script, you know, maybe look for a new idea for a personal project. So that's actually something that I'm doing right now, trying to shoot a personal project again, because it seems to me that that's how I advance, you know, in the right direction.
Yeah. Good. I think we're running into our time slot, so last question, if there is any in the audience. Julia, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I do.
Come on.
So I'm very interested in women in film, girls in film, and I'm wondering if you ever make like a conscious decision to look for, let's say, female talent or minority, diverse talent.
Is it for me or? Yeah. So this is a huge question. It's a huge issue. For example, we have about, it depends in the countries, but we have one girl on the roster. We have 2 other girls we're talking to. We have no colored people. It is something I've been working on for the last 3 years, trying to find more women to join the roster. The good ones are already represented. So I'm left with a lot of great talents, but I'm not yet having them on the website because I'm trying to sell them, but I'm not given the opportunity so far. It's a huge problem. It is something we have to fight for, change, to bring the level between the white men supremacy into more diversity with women, LGBT, the world basically. So it is a question I'm working on constantly. We're speaking to women, Bianca Poletti, Lana. I had Elena Petiti-Loreto. I have it's a woman called Bérangère as well, which we're talking to, but so far it's very hard to sell because, and I say that to the agency, I say you need to give an opportunity. You need to push for these new female talent or colored or whatever, these new people, so the business, so they can grow as creative, learn, shoot, and start building a reel. It's a very big problem for me. But I think we are getting conscious of that issue, and it's something that we have to keep on working on.
Is it, because when you were talking I was thinking, of course women through the time of different stereotypes of what we should do and how we should be and how it is, or didn't been going through this development. So I believe it's also, it takes some time to come up with more female producers, female directors.
Female producers, there's a lot of them. It's really, I see it in DPs, issues with DPs, there's no women, and directors, there's no women. So these are 2 sections of the industry that needs a big shake to enable more equality in what we do. It's been, I'm sorry to say so, but this business, and also it's a lot of people coming from family with money that enter the film industry because you need money to make a film. So the minorities too, there's a lot of minorities which is very hard for them to enter the business because they simply have no money. But America's changing that very rapidly. Nike obliges to shoot with women now. So that's a great change. There's like P&G now, which is requesting, I think, 1 woman, 1 colored person, and 1 white person. So it's diversity in there. But there is the clear issue that a lot of these people don't yet have the experience, or they haven't built their talent because they don't have the experience. And so it's very hard for them to win a pitch against someone which already has a stronger showreel that he built from school, for example.
Yeah. And I think it's difficult because I understand the need. I also think it's a question of the time that with certain opportunities people will start. I also understand that being a woman or being a mother is very hard to be even producer.
That is
and imagine even director.
Once you give birth, for example, you are out, and
so it's a lot of things, and I believe still we can't, because it's a subject which probably would deserve another talk. We would prepare for sure through the academy, but I believe it's still about the good work. So in the end, that's what matters. And I also had experiences myself that I work with the female directors. They won jobs over the men. You know, they did amazing stuff, and I met a lot of new talents, black guys. This year at Cyclops, there was a fantastic directors being presented. So I am very positive that it's happening and it's coming, and we just have to.
It's time. It will happen in time. I think by talking about it, fighting for it, to keep the women and other ethnicities into the pitches, and eventually, if we keep doing that, but I think it will work. But I think we are, especially as a creative industry, very conscious of the issue that is standing there. But it comes to talent as well. It comes to who does the best work in the end. Being whatever background or whatever sex you have, don't really care. It's about the work in the end. But yeah, there's not enough femininity in what we do.
Okay. So thank you very much for coming, both of you. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you soon here back. And I hope I see you soon back here. And I wish you both good luck and good jobs. And for my new directors or young directors, definitely once you're ready with your work, Jason is the person to approach.
Send me your work. I'll happily look at it.
Thank you.